Hi folks, and welcome to a special overtime edition of the CIUK podcast. This is your host, Ray Monaghan. Hope you all had a very Merry Christmas, and I wish you in advance a Happy New Year, since we are on to New Year's Eve now. And as I've been alluding to for the past couple of podcasts, I did have a very special guest arranged, and a couple of issues did get in the way of me conducting this interview sooner, but I'm now pleased to say that we were able to do an interview over the phone with Red Touch Media CEO and Telford Tigers owner Wayne Scholes. Wayne took over the club earlier on this year and, as you're about to find out, has some very high aspirations for his new club. Many thanks to producer George for conducting this interview on my behalf. Let's get right to it and let's hear what Wayne has to say.
Welcome to CIUK, and today we have with us Wayne Scholes, the owner of the Telford Tigers. Wayne, great opportunity. I'm glad I've managed to get a chance to speak to you. How are you?
Well, thank you. And how was Christmas for you?
Yeah, Christmas was great. Quiet time with the family, with Raymond, obviously, who's the hockey fan, and my wife, Margaret. But yeah, how about yourself?
Honestly, it was one of the best Christmases I've had for ages. I actually had loads of time at home with the family, and the kids had a blast, and yeah, it was great. Sometimes, I don't often get loads and loads of time at Christmas, whereas this time I sort of forced an extra couple of days in there, so we had a blast. It was great to be home.
So by home, do you mean in the UK or in America, in Salt Lake?
No, in America. So, I live in Salt Lake. I've been here now. Well, we moved back here a year ago. We were in South Africa for 4 years in Durban. And then before that, we were here in Salt Lake. And I've been in America now for, since 98, I think. In various places. I was in LA for a while. I was in New York for a while. And then we settled in Salt Lake in Utah.
I've never been to America myself, but that will remedy that in the new year, because we're going to do a tour of Texas in one of those RV vehicles. So looking forward to that.
Oh, you'll love it. Well, you'll have a great time. Texas is a great place to go. It definitely heats up in the summer, so you're definitely going to feel the heat, but it's a great place to go. I like America. I've always enjoyed coming here, and I like sports, and America is definitely a place that likes its sports. So it makes it pretty easy to enjoy yourself and relax.
So when did you first become a fan of the Telford Tigers?
The day they started. I can remember being a kid at the ice rink when they first opened the ice rink and thinking, ice hockey. No idea. Let's go watch a game. I remember going to the first game and being hooked. Hockey is one of those great games for me where you're either in or you're out. There's not many people who can watch it for the sake of it, And I love the fact that hockey is one of those games where people just get hooked. And I was hooked from day one. And then when I was 15, I ended up being the stick boy for the Tigers, and did that for 2-3 years and loved it. And I think that gave me a more I guess that gave me a bigger appetite to be more involved in hockey. I just didn't know how to be more involved in hockey because I was a terrible player. Awful. I love skating and I can skate just fine. But I was a terrible hockey player. And so I knew that I was never going to be involved in hockey as a player. And I always thought that I'd have some involvement later on at some stage because I always just loved the Tigers and I always loved hockey. So I wanted to have something to do with it. I didn't think it was ever going to be owning the team, though.
Now, you're one of the very few who's made the transition from fan to stick boy to owner. How does that feel?
It's funny. No one's asked me that before. I think it's one of the most exciting things I've ever done. Partly because I think, when you're a fan, you have all of these thoughts and, if I could own the team, I'd do this and I'd do that. And I think there's always a sense of frustration as a fan that, the communication between fans and owners is generally terrible. And so there's this frustration of, I don't know what they're doing and I don't understand what they're doing what they are doing. And I love the fact that as an owner, I can try and remedy that and be as communicative with the fans as possible so that they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I think that makes it a more fun thing for me to do, because it means I communicate with the fans a lot. And the second thing is that it's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying, because as a fan, you want certain things for the team. As a businessman, I have certain needs for the business, and I'm not going to do this just for fun. I love the Tigers and I want them to be successful, but I'm not doing it just for fun. This was a business decision where we have a particular business model where we're convinced we can make money at this and invest in the future of ice hockey in the UK and have a positive impact on it. So there's a terrifying aspect of it that you want to deliver. You want to deliver for the fans. You want to deliver for ice hockey as a whole in the UK, and you want to be able to participate successfully with other teams to build something great in the UK for hockey, and to carry on building on what's already been laid as a foundation. So there is a terrifying aspect where there's a higher expectation, I think, on myself than I would have placed on myself for other businesses that we buy, because I want it to work. I'm a fan. I want it to work. I want this to be a good thing for the fans. I want it to be a good thing for the players who deserve, I think, more in the UK than they currently get. So I think the expectations are slightly higher. So it's an interesting question, because I have all the excitement as a fan, but at the same time it's terrifying, because you want to deliver, because you know how hard it is to be a fan sometimes.
Now, being a fan as well, does your heart ever overrule your business head?
No, you can't. You have to be detached from some of the decisions, because the truth of it is, I think it would be too easy to make mistakes if I didn't have some checks and balances in place. And I'm very fortunate. I've got a fabulous team that works with me. We have a great corporate structure that is a check and balance to all the decisions we make. And so I try very, very hard to be conscious of the fact that as a fan, I want everything and I want it now. But as a business owner, I want what's right. And I think the one thing you can't afford to do in life is sacrifice what you want most for what you want now.
That's interesting. Do you think you can actually make money in this business? You can't turn a profit, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think part of what the problem has been with hockey is that there's been an attitude of I always end up saying something that makes me hated even more by the other teams, and that sometimes it's fun to do that, and sometimes I think, oh gosh, why? But I'm a big believer in honesty. I don't like dishonesty. I don't like it when people say one thing and do the other. And I think one of the problems in hockey in the UK is that you've got a league that tries really hard, and I think they have done their very best to stabilize a game during a period of time where the economy has sucked, life has been hard for people, and I'm impressed by what the league has been able to do. And that's not to say that people don't disagree with the league on some of the things they do, and of course, there's always going to be issues in any league, but I think overall I'm impressed by the league. One of the problems that I've had with some of the owners that I've communicated with is this lack of understanding of the whole picture. I'm curious as to why some of the players get treated so poorly. I'm curious as to why there's this lack of communication between the owners. It's strange to me. There are some that seem to communicate quite a lot. I've had great emails from Manchester, and they've been very welcoming, and they seem to have run a really professional outfit. And then there are some where you just think, good grief, this is the way you guys treat each other? This is bizarre. It's like school ground stuff. Guildford in particular and Basingstoke have just behaved like children. It's been absolutely bizarre. And I think like that for me, I think you have to be able to take a step back from that kind of thing and say, well, I'm not going to do this with my head, with my heart. I have to we have to do this according to the lawyers and do this the right way. And it's a strange situation to be in, honestly, because I think there's money to be made in this if you just do it the right way, and if we can all learn to play nicely together and help each other to build successful businesses and build a successful league, then there's money in it for everybody. More money for players, better experiences for fans, and money for the owners. I think there's definitely been a lack of business communication between the owners. I think in some respects, I think some of the owners, not all of them, and I should emphasize that, not all of them, I think some owners have done a disservice to their own clubs by not really diving in the whole way. It's difficult because I haven't seen all of their business models. I can only go on the way they've dealt with us. And I sort of look at that and go, well, if that's how they deal with other owners, no wonder they're not making any money.
Wayne, do you think there should be more communications between the teams and the management of them as well?
Well, there has to be, and that's, I think, one of the bizarre parts for me is I look at what I see about ice hockey in the UK, and I just think I don't get why we don't have. Why isn't there a monthly owners meeting? Why is so much left to general managers? Why is so much left to the coaches to have to figure out on their own? Why is it that we simply, even if it's a conference call once a month, like I don't get why we don't talk. I don't get why it's so combative. I think it's been amusing to me to watch how they've responded, or some of them, because some have been very supportive. Like I say, I think, I've looked at the teams like Peterborough and Manchester and those guys, and there are some of them that are just pretty cool people, and they've been very supportive and welcoming. But, the ones that we've had dealings with, like Slough and Basingstoke and Guildford, I've just sat back and gone, really? That's how you run it? Okay, well, if that's how you want to play. I just think it's strange that they're very protective. They're like kids with toys in a playgroup who don't want to share. And I think that's a shame, because I think there's more to offer the country for the sport than we're actually offering. I think I think some of the owners have had it their own way far too long. Which, look, one of the things that we do as a business is we like to be disruptive. That's just the way it is. We disrupt whatever business we get into. So I'm okay with them if they don't want to play nicely. I got a very good corporate team based in 4 continents. I'm okay with not playing nicely initially. I just don't think it's the best way to do it for the sport and the country. I think there should be more communication. Particularly, I think there should be more communication between the leagues. I can't believe that there's not a quarterly meeting between all of the owners, or at least every 6 months have a meeting between all of the owners, whether you're in the Elite League or the EPL. It just makes more sense to me to have regular conversations to see how we can build the profile of hockey in the UK. But they don't.
Wayne, do you by any chance have a magic bullet or idea that would bring fans in or promote ice hockey in general, or your own club in particular? Well,
look, I think there's some pretty straightforward underlying rules for business. I think if you're a consumer-facing business, you've got to offer a fabulous consumer experience. The fan has to have a great experience when they come to the ice rink. And it can't just be from whistle to whistle. It has to be before they even get to the ice rink. There has to be an experience. There has to be an experience throughout the game. And then after the game, there should be an experience. And I think, the number one thing for me is the fan experience has to be right. So that for me is the key. The second thing is I think you have to have happy players. I think if you're treating your players poorly, if you're not investing in them for the long term, then you're not going to have happy teams. Happy teams don't communicate well with fans. I think you get more out of your employees if they're happy. I don't think any of those are necessarily silver bullets. I don't think that's me teaching anybody anything. Those are pretty straightforward business rules that apply across the board. I think, if you can get the fan experience right, and you can get the player atmosphere right, and then I think you put a solid structure behind that for marketing and to leverage those assets that you have, then yeah, and that means having a successful academy. You know, I like having imports, and don't get me wrong, we've got some great imports at Telford, and I think they're really, really cool guys. But, what I'm really interested in is building a great academy and knowing that we can carry on a legacy like we did some years ago, where people like Ricky Plant came out of the academy and has played, great hockey all his life. Well, I want the same thing. I want kids in Telford to grow up playing hockey to the best of their abilities. So I think you have to have a structure that allows for future growth, that allows you to offer a great fan experience and a great player experience, so that you really have everybody playing for each other. And again, I don't think those are silver bullets. I don't think I'm not teaching anybody anything. And look, I'm not arrogant enough to think that I know everything about hockey. I'm not. I'm sure that some of the owners here will have forgotten more than I know, and that's okay. But I think, for the ones, I'll tell you an interesting conversation I had. I had an owner call me, yelling at me, swearing, cursing down the phone, calling me this, that, and the other. You're an effing effer. I can't believe you'd steal our player. I mean, it was quite funny because, I never engage in that kind of conversation, because one stupid person in the room is enough. I don't need to add to it by behaving badly as well. So I said, look, why don't you call me back when you've calmed down? So he slammed the phone down on me, and then his guy in Canada called me, and he screamed and yelled at me and effed and jeffed at me. And I said, I don't get it. I don't get why you guys are behaving like this. Well, we know more about hockey than you do, and you should just learn to play nicely and do as you're told. Telford have been at the bottom, for a long time, and you should just stay there. And I went, really? Okay. Right. So I said, I might be wrong on this one, but if you guys are so perfect and so good at this, how come we got so many problems? I get it that you know a lot about hockey, but if things are so perfect, why are there so many problems? Why does the league have to bail so many people out? Why do fans have to set up their own trusts? And why are fans constantly worried about the teams going out of business? If you guys are so smart, why are you so afraid? I don't get it. And he yelled a bit more, and then put the phone down on me, which, however they want to behave is up to them. I don't really care. Well, no, I mean, it didn't do anything. It just made me go, all right, well, there's one I know how they're going to behave. I mean, if that's how they behave. And look, the interesting thing is that they have followed on true to form from the way they behaved in those initial phone calls. One of the players that we signed, had been with this club for a long, long time and had been a very loyal servant to them and had done very well for them. And they still owe him money. They just won't pay it. We've had to file a lawsuit on his behalf to get them to pay the money they owe him, because they simply won't do it. I mean, it's just bizarre to me that there are teams out there willing to break the law because they're feeling petulant and upset that somebody else has come in and wants to play the game in a different way or wants to treat it as a business. These aren't toys. These are people's lives. These are players who've got families. It's not fair to treat them like toys. They're not toys. They're players. They're professional hockey players, whether we want to call them semi-pros or not. These guys dedicate themselves the same way as any pro does. And I think they deserve the same kind of respect as any sportsman would in another team, in another sport.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, I don't have a great hockey knowledge, unlike Raymond, my son, who normally does the interviews. But I find it strange the way they can just dump players from game to game, basically, if they feel like it. It's not so long since I viewed a player who plays in the German league at the moment, a guy called Brendan Cook, a great player. But one of the reasons he settled with the team was the fact that they offered him a few years contract. Obviously, he's a young man, a young family, and they need to settle down. They need roots there, so that they're not going to be dumped at a moment's notice.
Right. What? See, that was the thing. Okay, so here's one of the things that makes me laugh. It's funny to talk to you because, in hockey it seems accepted that you can ditch a player and not pay them any notice period. Like, you can literally ditch them. I mean, I just sort of went, okay, so hold on a minute. You're going to be upset with a player if he quits and goes to another team, because he got offered more money or he got offered a better deal. But you're okay with sacking him on the spot and not giving him any notice. That's okay. It seems to me like they want what they're not willing to give. They want ultimate loyalty, but they're not willing to give it. And I think that, to me, that sows seeds of discontent that you just don't need in a locker room. And so, one of the things that we did was we said, well, look, I'm not necessarily going to pay players loads and loads more money, but am I going to pay them a fair wage for what they do? Yeah. Now, is it what the players want? Well, probably not, because right now we're building a business, and so we have to get there together. However, there are some other things I can do for them. Might I be able to pay some of them extra bonuses? Might I be able to get them to do other jobs for us within our other businesses? Yeah, of course. And is it possible that we might be able to give them a longer contract? Well, yeah. And why shouldn't they have a longer contract? Why shouldn't they have some stability? Either I think they're good enough to play for us, or I don't. If they're not good enough to play for us, then I shouldn't sign them. I don't understand this short-sighted behaviour that we get from some of the teams. It just seems strange. And I think when I hear teams start spouting about, the Tigers are destroying the league, they're paying players money that nobody else can afford, it's going to hurt the league. It's mostly rubbish. It is mostly rubbish. They make stuff up because they don't know the facts. What we do is try and put together a package that is fair and reasonable for all the players. What we do is try and make it so that there's an environment that the player feels secure in, that they want to join. That's what we do. We didn't double anyone's salary or anything like that. We just gave them fair deals. And I think, we had honest conversations where I told them what our plans were, and they bought into it because they want some security and they want some respect. And I try and treat all of our employees like that. And perhaps that's one of the differences. I treat these players like regular employees in any of my businesses. They're not just players to be dispensed of just because you're bored or because you found somebody that can do a better job, or because you have a disagreeable day and you don't like what they do on the ice. I just think that I think the players and fans both deserve more respect from some of the teams. I think some of the teams have got it right. Don't get me wrong. I do think some of the teams have got it right. But I think that there are some teams who are used to having it all their own way and certainly don't treat the players and fans with much respect, and don't treat the other teams with much respect.
Yeah, surely that's what all players are looking for, a little bit of stability, a little bit of belief in their long-term stability and ability to play for you.
Right. That's exactly it. Why shouldn't he get that? And that's why, for the players that we've signed, I haven't signed a single player that's not on multiple-year contract. They're either good enough to come for a couple of years or they're not. And I'm not going to treat them badly just because we have a marketplace right now where it's all been about the owners. I just think that's a dangerous place to play. And I think you can see the teams, there are some teams where players stay for a long time. And I think you can see those teams. They're pretty obvious. The ones that chop and change every 5 minutes are the ones that, they're going to struggle in the long term.
Now, do you see the Tigers suit you in the EPL, or would you like to step up to the Elite League at some point in the future?
Well, look, one thing I have learned about business is that I never say never. That said, I don't envisage us in the Elite Leagues right now. I certainly see the next 5 years and longer as being EPL. Now, do I envisage, better quality play within the EPL? Yeah, I think there are some things we could change in the EPL to allow a better standard. I think, if the Elite League aren't willing to play nicely with the EPL and have a better relationship, or vice versa, I don't know the politics of it, then let's raise the standard of the game in the EPL. I got no problem with that. That's why we're here. It's why we're investing. So right now, I see our future in the EPL, but I don't think I would ever say never. I think that's a dangerous place to go, is to be definitive, because the truth is that business evolves and life evolves, and you always have to look at your options as you go forward. But certainly for the next 5 to 10 years, probably I don't see us in the Elite League. I'm happy with the EPL. I like the management of the EPL. I think they've done an incredible job to stabilise the league in incredibly difficult times. That doesn't make them perfect. We could all criticise some decisions. We can do what we can criticise. But the truth is, they put on an awful lot of games every weekend. I don't see a lot of people stepping up to volunteer to dive in and organise all of that. They do a very hard job with not a lot of resources.
Now, you spoke about youth development, and I used to live in Oswestry, which is just up the road. Maybe lived as saying a bit too much. I was stationed there as a soldier many years ago. Do you think there's enough of a catchment area? There's enough in the population to go down the road of your own youth development?
Well, I think there's a couple of things you can do. I think, first of all, we've had a successful history of bringing great players through from Telford, and I think you've only got to look around the league to see some of those players that came through from Telford, over the last 20 years. So I think clearly there's a history of success there. I think it just fell by the wayside because of finances and other issues, some poor ownership in the past. And I think that, now with what the Trust have done, they've set Telford up for success. And now it's our job to build on that success of the Trust. So, yes, I think there's a big enough catchment area. I think you've got about 180,000 people in Telford alone. Then you've got the Shrewsbury, Greater Shropshire area, Oswestry, Shropshire, Shrewsbury, all of those areas where, again, there's another couple of 100,000 people. Then I think if you look further out to the east, you look at Wolverhampton, Birmingham, a little bit south, maybe Kidderminster. Within an hour's drive of Telford, you've literally got millions of people. And I don't think there's any reason why we can't convince some of these kids that hockey is a great sport to play, that it's a tough sport to get into, but there are options and there's a great benefit to being a part of this sport. And I think there is a big enough catchment area. I think the second part of it is, yes, it's great to have a catchment area, but you've then got to have a program that is well organised, that is professional, that's staffed by full-time staff, that can monetize an academy so that it's good for everybody. And that's what we've got. That's one of the reasons we hired Ricky Plant, was to be the manager of the academy, because he understands what it's like to come through an academy. He understands how hard it is, but he also understands what the rewards can be. So, that's why he's going to get his coaching badges, and it's what he's going to do. He's going to help us drive that academy forward. I think, we're also bringing in other coaching staff to work in the academy. And a lot of our players are going to work in the academy because that's what they should be doing during the day. They shouldn't have to go out and be window cleaners or, data analysts or whatever. I mean, they should be able to earn a living from this. And so one of our goals is to try and find a way for all of our players to earn a living. The other side of that is that I think an academy really there is really there to build the sport nationally. So, yes, would we like to be the best academy in the country? Of course we would. There are some great academies out there right now, no question. Well, we'd like to be the best. I don't get in business to be second.
Now, you spoke about your academy and the facilities the club uses. Would you look to build a move to something larger, multi-purpose venue perhaps, or improve the club's long-term prospects and self-sustainability?
You ask good questions. That's an interesting one. We've talked about that a lot. The relationship between the Wrekin and Telford Council, who own the ice rink in Telford right now, has been good over the years. It's not been a bad relationship. We're in discussions with them right now to figure out the best way to move forward. But again, we never say never. There's always opportunities and there's always reasons to do things. And if the facilities don't match our desires, then we look at other alternatives. But right now we have a good relationship with the city council, and we'd like to build on that relationship and build a very successful academy and hockey team, and a good relationship, an even better relationship with Telford and Wrekin Council.
Now, the rise in the internet and your own businesses derived from that Red Touch Media. Do you think YouTube, or the internet in general, with the club's free game content, etc., think it deprives the game of paying spectators or hurts the game in any way?
No, I think, if anything, it builds the marketplace for it. Look, I think there are some people that will always steal content. There are always people that will look for free content. I don't necessarily think that that's a negative impact on a marketplace. I think it's about the offering that you give them. And again, it goes back to that fan experience. If you can make the fan experience so cool that people watching it on the internet whilst it's streaming sit back and go, damn, I wish I was there. That looks really cool. Then, you can create a desire. And if you can create desire, then you can leverage that desire. And, look, there'll be some people that simply can't make it. Look, from 2014 in Q1, we'll be streaming all Tigers games live on the internet. I think that's an important part of expanding our market. I think it's an important part of reaching a larger demographic and a larger fan base and building one around the world. Now, is it going to be the same quality hockey as the NHL or, any of that? Well, no, but that's okay. We're not saying it is. It's about finding the fans that enjoy the experience and enjoy the relationship with the club, and giving them an opportunity to interact with our club the way they wouldn't necessarily get an opportunity to interact with other clubs. So look, we're a media company. I mean, we deal with content all day, every day. We have offices all around the world, and so for me, leveraging those opportunities and those mediums is critical to building the success of the Tigers around the world.
Wayne, can you ever envisage a day where ice hockey would become a mainstream sport in the UK, say, like football?
Oh, look, I think you've got to be realistic. I don't think we'll ever be as big as rugby or as football. I think that we can certainly grow it way more than it currently is, to a much bigger position than it currently sits in. I think there's tons of room for growth. I think one of the great things about the public these days, particularly the British public right now, I think they're going through a period of growth as a fan base where they're willing to look at more niche sports. I think it used to be, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was much more difficult to convince people to look at hockey, to look at lacrosse, to look at, these new sports that were coming along that weren't really new. They've been around for, decades. But I think fans in the UK were very skeptical of new sports. I think one of the great things about the media these days, and whether that's the internet or whether that's, cable or satellite television, is that it's opened the world up a little bit to the British sports fan. And I think they're more willing now to give a chance to another sport. So I think when you look at the likes of hockey or lacrosse or, ultimate fighting or whatever, I think there's a much bigger marketplace to talk to now than there ever was.
Now, I hear you've got some new stuff to announce in the new year. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, we do. We should have another announcement next week. And I'm hoping we'll have two more before the end of the month. And then, of course, on the corporate side of it, we're working very closely with a couple of teams in the US, a couple of teams, one in Australia, one in South Africa, on partnerships, where we'll be doing coaching trades, player trades. And, of course, you want to partner with people that are better than you are. And so, that's what we've done. We're forging some good partnerships with some teams here in the US that play at a much, much higher level than we do. And, of course, the idea there is for us to improve us. We want to improve ourselves. So, we'll announce those probably in the next 10 days. I think we'll have that announcement for at least two of those teams. And then we'll, continue to add players as needed. Hopefully we'll have some more structure around hockey in Telford as a whole. I think, there's some room for improvement there. So, yeah, we're definitely going to have some more announcements. Apart from anything else, it's kind of fun to annoy some of the other teams when they react like this. It kind of makes me want to do more. It is, it's fun.
Now, will the Tigers roar again in 2014?
Oh, you've no doubt. No question. It's going to be a big year for us. And I think the part that makes me laugh is that if people think they've seen us make noise now, wait till the end of the year, then tell me if we've made noise in 2013.
Wayne, it's been absolutely great speaking to you, and thanks for taking part in this Centre Ice UK podcast. I hope it'll be all right in about 6 months' time to maybe catch up with you again and see what's happening with the team. Would that be okay?
Oh, mate, anytime. It's been really nice talking to you. I've really enjoyed your questions. I'm happy to talk to you. Anytime you want to give me a call, you've got my cell number. Just give me a call.
Oh, Wayne Scholes, thank you very much. Well, a happy New Year to you when it comes, and all the best for 2014. That's for you and your family. Thanks again for Centre Ice UK. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Happy New Year to you. You too. Take care. God bless. Bye, mate.
Many thanks again to Wayne Scholes of Red Touch Media and Telford Tigers owner, and to producer George for doing that interview. What did you make of what Wayne had to say? Let us know your thoughts on comments at centreiceuk.com, or you can tweet us at centreiceuk, or leave a comment on the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/centreiceuk. We hope to go across the pond for more interviews in the future. I'll let you know about those as and when I can get them done. That's it for your special overtime edition of the Centre Ice UK. I should be back in the next week or two with the normal edition of the CIUK podcast. But for now, wishing you all a very happy new year and every success in 2014.